They're two Big East powerhouses, right? And this is not the same Villanova team we're used to seeing under Jay Wright. These are teams that still grade out really well in offensive adjusted efficiency and defensive adjusted efficiency. But I'm going to look to the under here, guys. Both teams top 30 in defensive adjusted efficiency. We're only a few games into conference play, but so far you're looking at the number 2 and number 3 teams in defensive efficiency within the Big East. Now, offensively, Marquette is the better shooting team, but Nova's better at defending the 3 to start conference play. And while the Wildcats aren't necessarily a great shooting team or scoring team, Marquette is holding opponents to 37.9% in shooting in conference play. So you combine that with Nova, which plays one of the slowest tempos in the country. They're so good at grinding the pace down, especially when they play road games here and really bringing the other offenses to a halt. You look at these two teams throughout the season. Nova's only allowing opponents to 30 points in the first half on the road this season. And Marquette is holding opponents to 29.2 points in the first half at home. It's one of those things where, look, you have to hope they're not scoring early so they won't score late. If we get a really slow-paced, low-scoring first half here, I think it holds true to go that this game will stay under. Marquette 2-8 to the over in the last 10. Nova 3-7 to the over in their last 10. I expect a very slow defensive game here. Neither one of these teams gets to 70. We keep this thing in the mid to high 60s and stay under this 143 total.
So you talk about Nova 3-7 to the under their last 10. I'm Nova 2-0 to the over the last 2. They've both been 150 plus. The offense, I mean, again, when you're playing DePaul, the offense is supposed to click, but they're coming off a 94-point game in which shots were falling and it flew over the total by 30 points. Do you worry at all? Or 20, 25 points, whatever it was. Do you worry at all? Because a lot of times at this time of the year, when it comes to what the team has done earlier and then conference play, you'll see some dramatic shifts. Do you worry at all that Nova's playing faster right now and capable of lighting up the scoreboard in a way perhaps they weren't a month or two ago?
There are two teams in the Big East I generally disregard or discount what the other legitimate teams do. That's DePaul and Georgetown at this point in time. And I know Georgetown's kind of a rebuild, but I just take those games and throw them out as outliers because they're two teams in reality that aren't up to the standards of Marquette, Villanova, St. John's, UConn, Xavier, all these Big East powerhouses that we're used to watching, Creighton along the way. If you look at some of these tighter matchups between better defensive teams here, Nova and Creighton went 68-66 on the road. Nova and Xavier went 65-66. You look at Marquette and the way they're able to hold teams down in scoring. Creighton 72-67 stays under this number. You even look at some of the bigger, like a Big Ten team like Wisconsin, 64-75 stays under this number. So, I mean, I think when you get the style of play that these two teams put together, Teddy, that it's just going to lend itself to slowing down. I think the only thing that would make me a little bit weary is that if these teams start hitting shots, I mean, if they're shooting in the mid to high 40s here for any stretch, it's probably going to be enough to push this thing over. It's going to be tight to 140. I expect this to be like we saw, 67, 68 point range for both of these teams and a 2 or 3 point game when it's all said and done. So I expect a full sweat here for 40 minutes between these two teams. But I just think the pace here, Villanova is so good, especially on the road, at slowing things down and making free throws too. Villanova, one of the best in the country there. So I hope that doesn't come back to bite me down the stretch in the end. But again, I think the pace here is dictated by Villanova, especially on the road.